Shalom lekulam, and welcome to lesson number 2 on the secrets of the prayer Ana Bekoach and the 42-letter name of God. In this lesson, we're going to go to the practical side of the Ana Bekoach. But before that, what we're going to do, we're going to learn other meditations that we can practice as well, and that are related to the 42-letter name of God. If you're watching this video right now, I really recommend that you watch the lesson number 1 because it is an introduction to the Ana Bekoach and everything that we're going to be talking right now. After this lesson, there's going to be a third lesson. And in this third lesson, we're going to go then to see the 42-letter name of God from a different point of view. Right now, we're going to see, in this case, the 42-letter name of God as a meditation for the 7 days of the week. In the future lesson, the lesson number 3, we're going to do the same thing, but it's going to be different. In this one, we're going to be using basically the names of God for each day, and we're going to do a meditation that is different from the Ana Bekoach. Then we're going to go to the Ana Bekoach itself for each day. In the third lesson, what we're going to be doing is we're going to go to each day as well, but we're not going to be using the Ana Bekoach as the prayer for that meditation. This meditation is going to be based on the angels that are, let's say, that are represented by each letter of this 42-letter name of God. There are 42 angels, as we mentioned in the previous lesson, lesson number 1, in which each angel is going to be a force or an energy, intelligent energy, that is going to be strong and manifested on a specific way and in a specific day as well. And also, what we're going to see in the future is that each angel has a counterpart, another angel that also is going to help complete this energy or complement this energy, and that's going to be an intelligence, an energy that is called an intelligence, and we're going to know all that, okay? But right now what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on the practical side of the 42-letter name of God by learning how to meditate on the 42-letter name of God using what is called the gematria of the letter of the number 42 and the letters of the name of God, in order to create a better connection with spirituality. Then after that, what we're going to do, we're going to meditate or learn the meditation on each day of the week using certain verses from Genesis that will connect us to these 7 days of, or these 7 numbers that are for these 7 days. And also how each name of God, especially the name of the Yohe and the Vavohoo, with certain nekudot, is going to be part of that meditation as well. And that's going to be a whole different meditation, but it's a meditation that can be used to complement the Ana Bekoach. Make it in the beginning, at the end, it doesn't matter. But these 2 meditations that we're going to learn right now, they're based on the 42 name of God, and also on the number 42, because the number 42 has the energy of the name of God. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with a meditation that we learn about in the first lesson, and that meditation comes from Likutei Moharan. And in here, what we're going to do, we're going to see it in a more slow-paced way, so we can really see what are we doing here. So the first thing that you need to understand is that whenever you're doing this meditation, you're doing it from what is called the world of action. So you got the world of action, which is called Asya. Okay? So this world of action that we are, this is where the work of the Kabbalist takes place, right? So what we're going to do is, in this case, we're going to follow the instructions of the Likutei Moharan, which says, now it is necessary to mitigate the judgments at the root of the judgment of Bina, understanding, as it is written, I am Bina, understanding, I have strength, therefore, through the placing of hands on the money, the judgments are mitigated. So this is the thing. In Kabbalah, we talk about Bina as this will to bestow. The Bina represents the will to bestow. So how come that Bina, who wants to bestow, can be understood as a Sephirah that has judgment? Because judgment means restriction. In order for Bina to give, it needs to restrict itself. So it restricts itself in order to give to the lower ones. It doesn't receive for itself only. It restricts itself in order to share. And that's why it's called a judgment or a restriction. And Bina is also known as the Or Hasidim, the light of mercy that clothes the light of Chokmah, the light of wisdom. And that's the only way we can receive the light of wisdom, if it's clothed into the light of mercy. If the light of mercy is not clothed in the life of Chokmah, the life of Chokmah can actually corrupt or break the vessels, right? Because of the strength that light has, okay? So let's continue here, right? So we're gonna see is that, therefore, like the placing of the hands, it talks about the hands on the money, the judgments are mitigated, right? So we're gonna talk about what does it mention, money specifically. But before that, we need to understand that hand is yad, in plural will be yadim, right? But right now we're talking about a hand. Hand is yad, yod and dalet. Yod has a numerical value of 10 and dalet has a numerical value of 4. When we add them, they give us 14. And what we're going to see now is the following. This is because there are 3 hands in Bina. There are 2 hands, the great hand and the strong hand. And the synthesis of the two is the exalted hand, which is called basically the hand of the middle, the pillar of the middle, okay? So when we see this hand that we're talking about here, 3 hands, we're talking about the left pillar and the right pillar and the middle pillar, which balances everything, okay? Now, in the synthesis of the two is the exalted hand, thus the virtue of the money, which are judgments coming into the hand, the 3 hands that are in Bina, the judgments are mitigated at the root, for the root is Bina, in which are the aforementioned 3 hands. Okay, so what we're talking is Bina, in order to give to the ones below, restrict itself, and it start balancing left and right. Okay, by creating a middle path, right? And what we're gonna see is that in life we have 2 hands, right? Each hands physically, we have a left one and a right one, but this lands in the physical realm has the symbolism of receiving and giving. Okay, so what we're going to see here is how we are going to balance this receiving and giving in our life. These are the 2 hands that are mitigated or not mitigated. The judgment is mitigated. What is happening is these 2 hands are balanced. A synthesis, as it says, of the exalted hand, which is a middle path. A person must mitigate the judgment in this world, the world of action, the world of Asiyah, this physical world, right? By means of the 3 hands that are in each of the 3 worlds which are higher than this world of action, meaning nearness, creation, or formation. Nearness means Atzilut, creation is Bria, and formation is Yetzirah. Okay? When the judgment of the world of action is mitigated by the 3 hands in formation, right, which is Yetzirah, it is mitigated by means of the name of 42, Ana Bekoach, Gedullah. This is because the 42 is equal to 3 times Yad, 3 times this world the word Yad, 3 times the letters Yod, 3 times the letter Dalet. Now, what we're gonna see, if you're studying the Ana Bekoach in a deeper way, when you find other books or other sources, you're gonna hear, like in here, it says, the Ana Bekoach is Gedulah. Gedulah means it's Chesed. But you're gonna see especially in books that hopefully they get translated, they talk about Ana Bekoach being from the aspect of Geburah, from the aspect of judgment. And it's because the Ana Bekoach is going to restrict, in order to restrict, it needs, like to clothe the light of haKanah, right? So this is what the Ana Bekoach is doing. The Ana Bekoach is going to be working from the, what is called the zeramping. You just look at the first lesson and you understand what I'm talking about, from the side of zeramping, which is receiving in order to give, and then give to Malchut, the Nukva. And when we look at the Ana Bekoach and then the 72 names of God, the 72 names of God are seen as Chesed. However, they're in the world of Asiyah. They're in the lower world. And then we're going to see, once we study the 72 names of God in another lesson, we're going to see that is because there is no Geburah in them. There's a letter that is missing, that is not mentioned in the 72 names of God. And that letter has to do with Geburah. But in here, in the Ana Bekoach, we do have it. We do have that letter. So that's why we have judgment in this Ana Bekoach, but it's not because it's something bad. It's because it needs to restrict the light of wisdom, so the light of wisdom do not create chaos and disorder, okay? And then, that's the first meditation that we do. The Yod times 3 equals 42. Then the next step is going to be, and in the world of creation, the world of Bria, right? So here we went from Asiyah to Yetzirah. And now we're going to go to the world of Bria, which is the world of creation. So we're going from the lowest world to the second world, and we're going to the third world, which is the Bria. And in Bria, the world of creation, it is mitigated by means of the name Ehyeh and the name Yod-He Vav. So you have Ehyeh here and the Yod-He Vav in here, which together are also equal to 42, 3 times Yad. So when we put these names together, right, by means of forming a Yehud, a union, we put the Aleph first, then the Yod, then the He of Ehyeh here, and then the He of Yod-He Vav, and then the Yod of Ehyeh here, and then the last letter Vav over here of Yod-He Vav, and then a He from Ehyeh at the end. And when we add the numerical value of this whole naming here, this whole Yehud, is going to be 42. And that's how we correct first from here, from Asiyah to Yetzirah, and in here we're correcting to Bria, or connecting, or making a correction to connect to Bria. Now, the other correction higher up in the world of nearness, that means Atzilut, it is mitigated by the means of the 42-letter name of the name Ma. And the name Ma has to do with what is called the Parsufim that came after what we call Adam Kadmon. We're going to find Ab, Sak, Ma, and Bon. And these Parsufim are the ones that are going to give us, these names. So this is Galgalta, which is Adam Kadmon, right? Then in this Parsuf, what is going to happen is going to create some calculations here in the Rosh, in the head, and it's going to create 4 more Parsuf, right? Parsufim. And one is Ab, which is comes from the number 72, right? Ab comes from Ain Bet, which is 72. Then Sag. Sag is the number 63. Ma is 45, and Bon is 52. So here what we're doing is we're dealing with Ma. And Ma has to do with seramping. How do we know it's seramping? Because we need to understand Galgalta here will be Keter, Ab will be Chokma, Sag will be Bina, Ma will be seramping, and Bon will be Malchut or Nukva. So we're working with this name over here. And what it's telling us is that we're going to use the name Ma, the simple spelling, right? The expansion, so we have the name of the Yod, He, Vav, He, and now we expand it, and that's what's happening in those Parsufim. That's where they get the numerical value. So now we're going to expand it again, all right? And the expansion of the expansion is called, so we have an expansion here of this expansion. So we have the yod written as e od, and then what we're going to do is we're going to expand this into e od, and then the vav here, vav, and the dalet here, dalet. And the same thing we're going to do with each of these letters. So what we're going to have is the 4-letter name of God. Then we're going to have 10 letters from the first expansion. And then we're going to have 28 letters of the second expansion. And that is going to give us 42 as well. So the simple spelling, the expansion of the expansion, and the expansion of the expansion together, there are 42 letters, 3 times yad, okay? So we have there, 3 times yad as well. And this is the meditation. So how we're going to visualize this in a way that we can connect to this information, right? So we're gonna see it in this way. This is the way we're gonna see it. So in a meditation, we always need to understand that we're standing in front of the Creator, okay? So what we need to do is, first thing in every Kabbalistic meditation is that we need to acknowledge that we are in front of the Creator. So that's why we do the first Shiviti Adonai Lech Aned Tamid, okay? And basically is, that we acknowledge that we're in the presence of the Creator. That's the first thing, okay? The Shiviti. If you Google the Shiviti, you're gonna see that the Shiviti comes from the Psalm, the book of Psalms. But the first meditation, which is gonna give us 42, that's Membet, that means 42. Membet here means 42. That's the value of each of these steps of meditation. The first has to do with the 3 yad. The 3 yad are the 3 hands. And remember that it mentions money. It says, that we need to, when through the placing of hand on money, the judgments are mitigated. What kind of money we're talking about here? Is it real money, the money that we have in our hands? And we need to understand is that there's kesef and there's sahab. Kesef is silver, sahab is gold. Kesef comes from the side of judgment, sahab from the side of chesed, which is mercy. So kesef, which we say money, right? Kesef is from the side of judgment. And what is bina? The Likutei Moharan is telling us, that is judgment, right? So what we're doing is we're going to mitigate the judgment of this by having the sahab, the mercy, and the kesef, which is restriction and judgment, being balanced by the center, the synthesis, or the hand that is in the center. And by adding the numerical value of these 3, we bring what is called the balance in this equation, if you want to call it that way, of names, which is 42. And what we're doing is we are sweetening the judgment with mercy, and that creates then balance between the 2. And that's how we create the 42. And what we're doing here is we're elevating our consciousness from the world of action, which is Asiya, to the world of Yetzirah. So what we're doing here is, as we meditate this, and this is the way you're going to do it, you're going to visualize these 3 yods in your mind, and understand this is Kesef and Sahaf, and visualize it in your mind, and think about the balance that you need in your life when it comes to the judgment. Not judgment only against other people, but judgment against yourself as well, okay? Because remember, this judgment that we have against ourselves is based on self-hatred, and this self-hatred manifests into hating other people. But if we start balancing internally, and we start elevating our consciousness, what we're going to see, we're going to start loving ourselves as the Creator made us, right? And in this way, we're going to see that eventually we're going to find that the love that we feel for ourselves is going to manifest into loving other people, okay? So that's what we're going to do. Now, on the other part of the meditation, we're going to be meditating in the name Ehyeh. And that name Ehyeh is going, the meditation is going to give us also 42, right? So the name Ehyeh, what we're going to do, we're going to create a yichud. So in our meditation, we're going to have these two names in our mind, visualize them in our mind, apart first, Ehyeh on the top and Yohevav in the bottom, and then we're going to visualize them in a yichud, in a union. Always keeping in mind that this is bringing that balance that we found there, right, into a higher realm. And that realm is going to be the world of Bria, which is the world of creation. And that still is going to be through the name or through the power of the energy of 42. The next step is going to be, we're going to work with the name Yod, He, Vav, and He. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to expand that name in a way that is going to give us the name Ma, Shem Ma, it says in here. And then we're going to expand this name more, right? So this is an expansion, then we're going to have an expansion of that expansion. And the total value of the number of letters, not the value of each letter, this is the counting of the number of letters that we have. So we have 4 here, right? 10 here, and then 28 letters here. The counting or the sum total of all these letters together give us 42. And that is going to be the meditation we are going to be doing in order to bring us to the higher realm of Atzilut, okay? And then in the bottom of the meditation, what we have is, just to scan it, it's going to be the 42 letter names of God. And after you finish this meditation, you can stay quiet for a while and or read some biblical verses that will inspire you, or if you're not the kind of person that like to meditate using the Bible, just read something that is inspiring for you to continue during the day with this energy of the 42 letter name of God. But as if you're a person that study Kabbalah, this is what you need to keep throughout the day. And if you can memorize this, it's going to be really great. If you can memorize each of these steps and each of the letters that you need to use in this meditation, that would be great, because it will help you a lot better, because you don't have to do that. Now, if you want this meditation is going to be available after lesson number 3. After lesson number 3, I'm going to have all these slides that you're seeing in these lessons in a PDF file in the website www.receivingtheupperlight.com. Okay, then you're going to find all this information in there in case you want to, have it and print it or whatever. Okay. Okay, so the next meditation that we're going to be doing, people do it in different ways. They can meditate on this and then they meditate on the Ana Bekoach. Some people just do this meditation and that's it. And this meditation has to do with using just the first letter of the Ana Bekoach, right? Remember the prayer Ana Bekoach, each word starts with one of these letters. And the sum total of these letters, 42 letters, which represent the 42 names of God. So what's going to happen here is the following. We are going to use the book of Genesis, and there are 7 sayings in the book of Genesis that we're going to be using for the meditation on that day or on a specific way or day. What we're going to be using is also, if you want to go into a more advanced mode, what you can do is you can visualize the name of God Yohevah, utilizing the nikud. Nikuds are the vowels, or these dots that are down here, for each day. I'm not gonna do that here because it will be more complicated. That itself is a lesson, but what you need to understand is that the nikud that you find here comes from the first letter of each letter in the initial verse. So here the yod, you see this nikud here, that's the nikud from here. This one here, the A, comes from this here. And then from the Aleph, what we're going to find is the E here. And then another E comes from this one. So it comes from the first letter of each word in each verse. And then these letters are put into the Ana Bekoach. No, Ana Bekoach, I would say the 42 letter name of God that are used in the Ana Bekoach, okay? And that's how the meditation is. And these are based on the verses found in Genesis 1. For example, in verse 1, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, which is Bereshit, bara Elohim, et. Okay? So it stops at that. But you can read the whole verse if you want to. But here we just stop at where the 4 nikuds that we're using, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's basically the 4 first words of those verses that we have actually quoted here. This is something, like I said, is going to be available in the PDF file for your reference. But always remember, only the four first letters, what we're going to use from those 4 first letters of each of the 4 first words of these verses are the nikuds are going to be putting in the Yod He and the Vavohoo, and also in the 4 letters of the of the name of the 42 letter name. Okay, how are we going to do this meditation? In the morning you can get up, or at night, you choose your time, right? But it will be good always to do it in the day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, and day 7. Let's say day 1, which is Sunday, you start reading the Bereshit, bara Elohim et. And then you're going to visualize this name inside a Star of David. Then let's see the steps so it can make more sense to you. Okay, so these are the instructions. You're gonna start with an affirmation for your intention to do this meditation for the good of humanity. So this is a meditation that is not for you to have only a good day, good mood, or get out from some kind of depression or anything like that. This is something that is a work that you're doing internally in order to help humanity as a whole. So after that, you're going to recite the verse of the day from Genesis. You're going to visualize a Star of David with the divine name of the Yod He and Vavohoo permutation for that day inside the flames of fire on the top of the letters. Then you're going to visualize the 42 letter names of that day inside the Star of David with flames on top of the letters. Then while you're visualizing the 42 name, you're going to meditate. Okay, so you're going to meditate on the 42 letter name of God. I have to fix this here, okay? But it's going to be fixed in the PDF, okay? And the energy of that specific name for that day. Because as we're going to see later in the Ana Bekoach has a specific energy that name is going to be working, okay? For example, the first day, the first 6 letters of that 42 letter name of God, it's a removal of time, space, and motion, removing negative influence of physical matter from our lives, and create unconditional love. That's the power of these 6 letters. Then in the future, what we're gonna see once we start meditating in each letter with each angel of those letters, we're gonna see that this thing is gonna make more sense. Where they came with this thing, who invented this idea that we're gonna get unconditional love by meditating on this, right? Like Krasatan, which is the most famous of them all, right? Because it's the one that makes sense. The other ones are gibberish. This one makes sense, which means tearing Satan, right? Destroying the Satan in us. This one basically says restricting the reactive system. That sounds like being a right restriction, right? The reactive system, closing the gates from Satan, forgetting all limited thoughts. Okay, so even though it's talking about restriction, it's also talking about that there's a negative restriction. That's a restriction that creates some kind of a short circuit, if you want to call it that way, of energy in our lives, so the light doesn't reach us down here. So let's go back to the steps of the meditation we're talking about, and so we can see how this works. Okay, so let's start with the first step. The first step is start with affirming your intention to do this meditation for the good of humanity. Each meditation needs to start with kavanah. It needs to start with this connection and intention that the purpose of this meditation is going to be for the good of humanity. I'm doing a request to the Creator in order to bring down light to earth. Okay, then recite the verse of the day from Genesis. In this case, it's going to be Genesis 1, right? Verse 1. And what you're going to do, you're going to recite it. You're going to take that verse and you're going to recite it. Bereshit bara Elohim et, right? And make sure you don't do it fast. Do it slow. Make sure you are kind of like flowing with this energy of the name. Then after that, you're going to visualize the Star of David. And then you're going to visualize the name of the Vavohoo permutation for that day, right? Which is going to be the same, by the way. What's going to change is the nekudot, right? The nikud that come from the first letter of these four words that are in each of these verses. But you gotta meditate in this name with flames on top of it, okay? And you can do this for how many minutes you want, say 4 minutes, 5 minutes, it's up to you. Some people do it for 4 minutes for each letter, 1 minute, right? Meaning the Yod, He, and the Vavohoo, so that's up to you. But then you're gonna visualize the sequence of the 42 letter name that are assigned to that day with inside the Star of David and also with flames on top of each letters. Okay? Then as you're visualizing these 42 name, you're going to meditate on the power and energy of that specific name for that day. And that's when the chart that I show you, comes handy because you already know what that name's energy is all about, right? So you're going to meditate on bringing down the light, the name's energy for that day. And then what you're going to do is you're going to visualize a Star of David with the divine name, Adonai, for that day inside with flames of fire in the top of the letters. And make sure, if you want to do it in more advanced, make sure you add this nikudim right here that you added in the Yod He Vavohoo. If you're doing the advanced way, here is a simple way. Make sure you add this same nikud on the Adonai name as well. Okay, so you're gonna add this nikud on this as well. And while we're doing this, what's the make sense of this, right? So what we're doing is we're doing a request. We're doing a request to a higher realm. That's why we have the Yod, He, and the Vavohoo. And then what we're doing is we're doing that request. We have this intention of bringing down the lights and everything. But also, as we meditate on that day, we're activating the energy with that light that we're receiving from above, right? But that light needs to have some kind of vessel, right? Some kind of place where it needs to rest. And that's where the name Adonai comes to place. Adonai is the name for Malchut. So we're doing a request, right, to the spiritual realm. We're doing some work with that light that we're receiving from the spiritual realm, and now we need to bring that light into action by using the name Adonai. Basically, spiritual realm, correction that needs to be done, and how that correction is going to manifest in the world that we're living. Okay, so as you can see, the meditation is basically doing a request, bringing down the light, basically looking at what kind of code we need to use in order to use that light in a way that is going to manifest in our world in a certain way. That's what we're doing. Okay, now I was talking about the nikudim, right? These dots in here, which are the vowels of the letter of the Hebrew letters, right? Because the Hebrew letters themselves, they're not vowels, they're just consonants. What we need to understand is that each of those vowels or nikud, they represent a sephirah. For example, the kamats, and this is very important to understand because we're going to see that from these words that we see here, the names of these vowels, right? Of each of these nikud, the name of these nikud, are also the first letters of certain angels, as we're gonna see later. So the first is gonna be kamats. Kamats is like an ah. Ptach is also like an ah. So Keter and Chokmah, right? Kamats, ptach. Then Bina has a tisrei, which is an e, and then Chesed is a segol, which is also e. Then we got Shva. Shva is kind of like silent. Okay, that's Geburah. Then we have Tiferet, which is a Cholam, which sounds like O. And then we're going to have Netzach, which is Chirik, which is an E. And then we're going to have Hod, which is called Kibbutz, which is an U. And then Yesod, which is Shuruk, which sounds like a U, but almost like an O. Okay? And then in Malchut has no nikud because it is including all of them. All of this is inside Malchut. Okay? That's how it is. Okay, so whenever you see a nikud in the name or the names of God, whether it is a tisrei, a ptach, and things like that, what you need to understand is that each of these dots is not only a sound in order for us to read the Hebrew, it's also a vessel or a light that is inside the vessel called the letter, because the letters are the vessel. The vowels are the type of light that is manifested on that vessel, okay? So the vessel here is Yod, and the light that is manifested there is called Kibbutz, which is the Sephirah Hod, okay? And that's how we need to see it. So as we can see, we have all these lights in the Hebrew letters and the Hebrew writing. And those are going to be very important for the meditations in the future, okay? So let's start with the Ana Bekoach. The Ana Bekoach prayer associated with Rabbi Nehunyah and haKanah from the Middle Ages holds significance of various contexts, right? It is recited during the Shema in bed, before the soul ascends to the realm of the souls as described in the Zohar, and during Kabbalah Shabbat, funerals, and after the counting of the Omer. This ancient tool bestowed upon us by the Kabbalists served as a secret code, enabling us to tap into the energy flow and overcome obstacles, helping to restore our spiritual connection during times of spiritual decline. So if you go to our channel of Receiving the Upper Light, Kabbalah Receiving the Upper Light in YouTube, what you're going to see is that we have meditations for the counting of the Omer. And in those meditations, you're going to find something similar to what we saw here, in which you're going to see the letter, the names of God, filled, unified, and things like that. And you're going to see the nikud in them for what kind of light it's receiving for each day. So if it is, a nikud that has to do, let's say, the week that we're working on the Sephirah Chesed, all right, that will be the first week. The first week, you're going to see the Segol on those names and things like that, okay? So go over there and you're going to see, that these are being used in each of those meditations. Now, it says here, that it's going to help us to restore spiritual connection during times of spiritual decline. And that's the goal of these 42 letter names of God, is to connect us. As we saw in the first meditation, is to elevate us from the world of action to the world of spirituality, to the world of being near to the Creator. And that's what the Ana Bekoach is all about. Now, what we need to understand is that we need certain tools. And these tools are not going to be used only in this lesson. They're going to be used also in the next lesson, so make sure you have these tools with you. It's these tools over here, right? So you're gonna do the first meditation if you want to, right? Which we just mentioned. You can do also the meditation that we just mentioned in the beginning. The first meditation we mentioned in the beginning of this lesson, which is just about the number 42 using the yod, and also the hye with the yohe-vav, and then the yohe-vav expanded. But you can use this one too for each of the days, right? You got 7 days, so you're also gonna have the days for the Ana Bekoach, right? So you're gonna have the names, just like in here, for each of those names in the Ana Bekoach. You're gonna have what is called the angel of the day, and we're gonna explain how this works. And also what you're gonna have is that each of these days, let's say day number 1, which is Chesed, is Genesis 1:1, but it belongs also to this here, which is gonna be Saturn, and it is for the Shevat and Tevet, these 2 months corresponding to the first day, okay? And you're gonna meditate on those letters as well. Also, and this is at the end of the meditation, you're gonna do what is called the Tikkun HaNefesh, and we're gonna explain that as well. So this class, as you may see, it's gonna be a long class. Make sure that you pause when needed, but also make sure you have what is called index card, because you're gonna need an index card for each day so you can write these things down, or print it down and glue them in here, so that way you can have that card, and while you're meditating, you're looking at the card, you're not looking at a computer. So those are the tools. Plus, these index cards are gonna become very handy for the third lesson. So make sure you have those index cards. So let's start explaining this, all right? So the instructions for this is the following. Like I mentioned before, you can do this meditation first, and then do the meditation we're gonna talk about right now on the Ana Bekoach. But right now we're gonna talk about the meditating with the Ana Bekoach. So the instructions are the following. Start reciting the Ana Bekoach until you reach the line for the current day of the week. So you recite the Ana Bekoach, let's say it's day number 4, you stop at day number 4, okay? Then you meditate on the Milui. Milui means feeling of the names of God and the names of the angels corresponding to the current day. So let's say here I have Sunday, so that's basically for the first day. But if we're talking about the 4th day, we're talking about Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is Wednesday. So I need to have then the names of the angels, right, for that day corresponding to Wednesday. Now, after that, you continue reciting the Ana Bekoach until you reach the line corresponding to the current month, okay? So the current month, let's say if it is the month of let's go back and look at, let's say if it is the month of Chesban, that is number 3, right? So if we are meditating on the Ana Bekoach, we need to look for the month of Chesban, and we're going to stop basically at line 3, right? But since we're on day 4, that means we already covered that, but that means stop anyway and meditate on that, on those things, because you're going to visualize this letter corresponding to the month over your head as white fire. So in this case, it's going to be this, let me put it bigger. It's going to be the Dalet and the letter Nun, okay? Okay, so after that, what we're going to do is, after this, perform the Tikkun HaNefesh, which is this meditation here. So it's a meditation within this meditation. It can also be done on the side, not necessarily with the Ana Bekoach, but it's preferable and works better when we put it together with the Ana Bekoach. And then after that, finish reciting the rest of the Ana Bekoach. Then after that, finish the Ana Bekoach, okay? And that's a step. Those are the steps. Like I said, these instructions are going to be available on a PDF file in the website www.receivingtheupperlight.com. So you can find it there, and that way you can have it with you. So don't worry if you're writing things down, you cannot catch up, okay? Now, remember we're dealing with the names the name of God that is expanded. So we're going to see here is that we're going to see some names that have to do with the Sag, version of the expansion of the name of God. We're going to see the 45 name of God as well, and the 52 expansion of the name of God. All right, so Sag, Man, Bon. And then at the end, we're going to see that we're going to end in Ab, which is 72. And you might be asking, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the angel of the day, the section called the angel of the day, okay? So let's start with the first day. This is Sunday. So on Sunday, you're gonna basically say the first verse of the Ana Bekoach. You're going to concentrate on these basically 6 letters of that first day and what is their power, right? So that's what we're gonna do, right? Now we're going to do these meditations, and let's talk about that meditation. So this meditation, to understand this meditation, what we need to understand is that what you see here is the Yod He and the Vavohoo expanded, right? And remember about this Nikud. These Nikuds are gonna tell us what kind of light is inside those names. So it's very important to understand that. And here we have the A, right, and the E, and what are those Nikudim, right? So it's Chokmah and Bina, as you can see here, right? It's Chokmah and Bina. So it's telling us here, that these are expansions in the name of God, but they're using, Chokmah and Bina. And then we're gonna see El Shaddai over here, the name El Shaddai. And then we're gonna see this whole bunch of letters that we don't understand what they are all about. And these letters are a Yichud. What kind of Yichud? The Yichud of the Yod He Vav He with Aleph He Yod He. So basically it's Yod He Vav He with Ehie. And this expansion of the name of God has to do with Sag. Sag is the 63 name that we talk about right here, right? So that's the expansion that we're talking here. So that's what you need to keep in mind. When you see this here, it's going to be one of these expansions, and they're going to be filled with the name Ehie, but expanded as well as Aleph, He, Yod, and He with the same, I would say, energy in that case. Also, it says, that one of the things that we need to do is that when we meditate in the middle of the names and the name of angel corresponding to that day, which is here, we need to continue reciting the Ana Bekoach until we reach the line corresponding to the current month, right? So in this case, what we're going to be doing is we're in the first verse. We see that this is the first day, right? So yes, we're gonna pay attention to these 2 or 4 letters of these 2 signs of the zodiac. But let's say we are in the sign of Cancer, like we are right now, right? Then we need to meditate on this letter. It's over here, Het and Tet, okay? Once we meditate on those letters, we visualize them as Wi-Fi in our head, we also meditate on the letters for that day. Then we can continue with our meditation with the what is called the Tikkun HaNefesh, okay? And after the Tikkun HaNefesh, we finish the Ana Bekoach. But for now, what we're doing is we're meditating on this. Also, something that you can add if you want to is that you can concentrate on the area that is represented by these zodiac signs that are part of the first day of the Ana Bekoach, all right? Say Capricorn, Aquarius. What part of the body these signs are associated with according to Kabbalah? And then in this case, it's going to be ankles and circulatory systems. And also, like Capricorn, knees and skeletal systems. So you can also meditate on healing those areas of your body. So at the same time, you're not only meditating on bringing down the light and correcting, certain things, or basically amplifying the energy of this name during that day, but also you're doing what is a nikud haguf, a correction of our body. so we can concentrate on our body and our health, physical health. Because remember, our body is a temple, so we are paying attention to that. And this is just if you want to add it to it. It's not necessary, okay? So on the second day, which is Monday, we are on Geburah. Geburah means judgment, right? So in here, what we're going to see is that we're going to have a different Nikud, right? And like I say, go and reference the table that I showed before. And then El, and the name El, but it's not Shaddai in here. What you have is the Yod-He and the Vav-He. And then the Yehud here is Yohavavha, which is the Ma, the name Ma. And the name Ma is ramping. And then it is filled with a Hie as well, but as you can see, let's go back. You see how here a Hie is filled basically with almost the same letters as the name above. The same thing happened here. So we have the Yod, the Aleph, and then the He is filled with an Aleph as well. Then the Yod, and then the He here is filled with the same Aleph as well. While in here we see the two He's filled with the Yod as the name above. Okay, and then when they're together, we put the Yod first, right here, then the Aleph, then the Vav, then the Lamed, and so on and so forth. Okay. And then something that I forgot to mention is these letters here is simply the Ana Bekoach verse for that day. Now, what we see here is, we're going to see is Kras Satan, which is the name of God, or the 6 letters of the name, of the 42 letter name of the God for that day. And then, of course, the Yod-He and the Vav-He twice, with different kinds of nikudim in them, and those are going to be the kind of light that are inside those vessels. That's something, if you want to make notes, you can print this out, and okay, this is it. Let's say this is Chesed. I'm gonna write this represents the Nikud represents Chesed and that kind of stuff, and the other represent that. Like in here represents Geburah, right? This is Geburah. That's why you see this kind of Nikud in here. And then what you see is, what is the name of this Nikud, right? What is the name of this Nikud? This is going to happen in all the names. I'm using this as an example right here. The second name. What is the name of that Nikud? Remember the table? That Nikud is called Shva, right? Geburah. So let's go back to the second day. And in our second day, we have that in here. But we have that in there, and you see the first letter of the name Shuvah, right? Which is the Nikud Shuvah, the name for Nikud Shuvah. The first letter of each of the angels for that day are coming from these letters. The interesting thing is that what we see is that these angels do not start, one of them, the one in the middle, do not start with a Vav, because it's a replacement. Since the Vav sounds like a bet, it's like a B, the Vav is replaced by the Beit. And that's how you have, then the name Shemiel, then the name Barachiel, and the name Haniel, but remember it has this Shuvah Nikud in it. But the first letter of each of these angels is the name for that kind of Nikud. So you can understand, when you're seeing these are expansions of the name of God with the Nikud for that day and the energy that is coming towards that Nikud. Then we have the name of God, El, the name of God, depending, which day it is. You're going to have, in this case, El Shaddai, right? And then after that, we're going to have on the second day El, and then Yod-He and the Vav-He, and then we're going to have the Yehud. Then the third line is going to be the Ana Bekoach verse. Then after that, you're going to see is then the section or the name of the 42 letter name of God that is assigned to that day. Then after that, we're going to see more Yod-He and the Vav-He filled with the energy of that day and the energy that comes from other Sefirot. And then the names of the angels all at the end. And this angel, like I said, the first letter of each of these angels comes from the name of the Nikud. Let's go to the first day. So it has Segol in here, right? Samek, Gimel, Vav, and Lamed. So we have Samek, Gimel, Vav, and Lamed. And that's the first letter for each of these names of these angels, okay? So I hope that helps understand these meditations, because a lot of people, they go to books and they see these meditations and they don't understand, what is this all about? They just tell me to scan it. It's okay to scan it, that will work, but it's always better to know what are you scanning, okay? So you're scanning here expansions of the name of God, right? You're scanning names of God in here, Yehud of the names of God, the verse of the Ana Bekoach, the name of the 42-letter name of God for that day, then the Yod and the Vavohoo filled with the light representing, that day, and then the names of the angels are at the end, and the names actually comes from the first letter of the name of the Nikud, okay? And in this case, the second day then is Sagittarius and Pisces, and Sagittarius correspond to the hips, thighs, and Asiatic nerves, and while Pisces correspond to the feet and lymphatic system. So that's for the second day. Now, this is a part that is very interesting, because now we're going to see something like it might be looking like a mistake, right? And it's going to be that in this expansion of the name Yod-Heh-Vavheh and the name Ehyeh, the Dalet that is supposed to be in the name Ehyeh in the expansion is elevated towards the name Yod-Heh and Vavheh in this Yehud, okay? And I'm going to explain that later. But what you need to know is that this third day corresponds to Tiferet, and that when you meditate on this day, you're going to have to also keep in mind that you are correcting or paying attention to the part of the body called the head, the face, and the brain, because correspond to the month of Aries, and then Scorpio, which is the reproductive organs and bladder. Now, why the Dalet is moved to the top, right? In that way, because also we're going to see in the next day is going to happen the same thing. And it might look like it is a mistake when it is not. So, the numerical value of the letter Dalet is 4. Dalet means in English door. So the letter Dalet, the real name is door. So the shape of the letter Dalet resembles a doorway or a portal. It is said to represent a pathway or an entrance. So in Kabbalistic teachings, Dalet is often associated with the concept of connection and communication. It represents the opening or portal through which spiritual energies flow into our world. Dalet is also associated with the materialization of ideas or concepts. It represents the process of bringing abstract or spiritual concepts into physical existence. The Sephirot that correspond to the letter Dalet is the Sephirot Chesed, which is mercy, kindness, and expansion of energy. The name that corresponds to this letter Dalet is the name El, which signifies strength and power. It represents also a manifestation of divine energy in the physical realm. So remember the name El that is before here? What we're going to see is that before that, the name El was with El and Shaddai, then it was El and the Yod-Heh-Vavheh, and now is El Adonai. So El Adonai has to do with Malchut, right? And Dalet is a doorway. So basically what we have is Ehyeh here is a higher of a higher energy level than the Yod-Heh-Vavheh. Why Ehyeh is Keter, Yod-Heh-Vavheh is Tiferet. But what we see here is that from the name Ehyeh, a door is open and goes into the Yod-Heh-Vavheh, and what we have here is that Ehyeh is here, the Aleph, And the Vavohoo receives that Dalet, which is right here from Adonai in Adonai. And that's the door that will open on this third day. Why? Because remember, first day everything was created, then the second day something happened, right? In the book of Genesis, that says the Creator never said anything. Then on the third day it says that it was really good, right? And he said it twice. And that's why, we have that, because a door opened. It was light that manifested on that day. So in this month, what we're going to see that this has to do also with the name Bon, which is one of the names that we mentioned, this name over here. And that this Dalet, is the key basically, or the door to this light that we're going to receive. Now, the month corresponding to that day are going to be Aries and Scorpio, and head, face, brain, reproductive organs, and bladder. Okay, and on the next day is going to be Wednesday. That's Netzach. So we see the Dalet also being put in a position that is kind of awkward on that day, but it's because the same thing. The light is coming. What light is it? The light of balancing, almost the whole thing that happened with Tiferet, opening that door to balance everything, and that's still with the energy of Bon. Okay, so we're still with the energy of Bon in here, and the month that is represented by this day, the fourth day, is gonna be the month of Leo, Av, and that's heart and upper back. Okay. The next day is gonna be Thursday, and Thursday it's going to be now with a what is called the name Ma. So we have Bon here, right, and Bon here, and then we started. Let's go back. On the first day, which is Sunday, we started with Sag. Then we went to Ma. From Ma, we went to Bon. All right. So what we're doing here, we started with Sag, we went to Ma, we went to Bon. And now what we're gonna see is that the next day, remember that Bon repeated twice. Right? So we have it, in the fourth day. Then on the fifth day, what happened is we're going to Ma. So what is it? We went from Bon to Ma, right? And this is very important, to understand, because then what we're gonna see, we're going to Sag, and then we're gonna go all the way to the 72 on the Friday night, all right? So what we're doing is, as we're meditating, we're going down the ladder, and then we're going back up the ladder as we're meditating these names. Okay, so that's how we're going from Sag, Ma, and Bon, and then Bon repeats itself, and then Ma and Sag, and then we're gonna reach the 72 letter name of the Creator on Friday night and Shabbat. Okay, so that's what you need to understand in here. So Thursday, like I mentioned, we are in Ma. Ma, it's Ma is basically hot in here, and this day of Thursday, what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on these 2 months, and these 2 months are Taurus and Libra, and Taurus and Libra have to do Taurus with the neck, throat, and the vocal cords. Libra with kidneys, lower back, and lumbar region. Okay. And remember, the names of the angels, they come from the Nikud associated with this day, which is Shuruk. So Shin, Va, Resh, and Kuf. So you got the Shin, the Resh, and the Kuf, because the Vav is serving here as a vowel. So the names are derived from those 3 letters from the name Shuruk. Now, from Ma, we're going to the top of the ladder, like we mentioned, right? So we're going to Sag now. Now we're in Bina, from Tiferet to Bina. And in this day, we have Shuruk as well, okay? But we have different angels in here, right? The names of the angels are different, right? And I'm not going to mention the names here, but it's Shemuel, Ramiel, Daniel, and then here it becomes more complicated because this name now, even though they're derived from Shuruk, is kind of like hard to mention, like Shomo, Shovov, of a law, and then Rafu law, and then Kodo, Shovo, law. So what is happening here? So what is these names here are being filled with Vav in them. And these Vav have, as you can see, a dot in their belly, inside their belly. That dot represents Yesod. That dot represents the impregnation, if you want to say like that, of the light in our lives. So now what's happening is that we're going to meditate on the Virgo and Gemini, right? And those are, Gemini represents the arm, hands, and shoulders of our body, and Virgo the abdomen, intestines, and digestive system of our body. Okay. Now, as you see, this is Friday, but now we have to do another meditation. This is for Friday night. This is Erev Shabbat. And Erev Shabbat, what we're going to see is that it's a different meditation. While here we have El Shaddai, right? And the Yehud. In here, what we have is a whole different situation in which I need to fix this, right? Because this is the Yod He Viv He, right? An expansion of the name of God. But then what we're going to have is the verse that corresponds to Friday, which is right here, Malchut, okay? And then what we're going to have is the names of the angels that correspond to Shuvah, which is the Nikud for that. Then Segol, and the names of this angel. And then Titri, which is also, names of the angels derived from these three Nikudim, okay? And this is Chokmah. This is the name 72 for Friday night, which is when we celebrate the Shabbat, when we receive the Shabbat, Kabbalah. This is Kabbalah Shabbat, basically. Now, Saturday morning, now we're in Shabbat, we're going back down to Bina, okay? So, now we're in Bina, and what we see here is an expansion of the name of God again. Remember, the Nikud represents the Sefirot that we're dealing with in that day. And what we're going to see is, once again, this is the verse corresponding to that day, the seventh day. And then we're going to see that we're going to have Shabbat and Kamets, which are the Nikud. And they're going to be with their respective angels represented here as well, okay? And remember, this here is going to be the name of the 42-letter name over here. And then the Yohe and Vav filled with the energies that we're going to be working on that day. And like I said, you can print this out and put for every Nikud what kind of energy it is. If it is Chesed, Chesed, if it's Bina, Bina, and things like that, okay? Now, in here, we're dealing with the month of Cancer, Tammuz. And what we're going to be is we're going to be paying attention in our body to the chest, breast, and stomach, okay? Now, there's Shabbat has three stages. There's the Kabbalah Shabbat, the morning and the afternoon. So there's 3 stages in Shabbat, 3 meals as well that correspond to this. And this has to do now with Serampin. So we went up all the way to the 72 to the 63, and now we're in the 45, which is Serampin. So we went to Chokmah, to Bina, and now we're going back down to Serampin. We're still on the 7th day. We still now have expansions in the name of God here. We're going to still read the same verse of the Ana Bekoach, and the Shuvah and the Patach are going to be the Nikudim that we're using for the angels that are going to be represented by those Nikud. And as you can see here, we have Tamiel written twice because Some people say Tamiel, but some people say Tal Miel as well. Okay, so there's two names in here for that reason. And once again, it's cancer, but here we don't meditate in any part of our body because we are supposed to meditate that we're complete, whole, and totally full of light in our physical body. But there's still, some other work that we need to do. And this work has to do with our soul, right? So this helps us with connect us to elevators actually from Asya to Yetzirah, all the way to Briah, to the world of nearness, which is Atzilut, and then, come back down to what is called Seramping, which is basically to help us understand that on Shabbat and after Shabbat, we need to continue thinking about the energies of Seramping, which is becoming vessels that receive in order to give. And who you're gonna give? You're gonna give to humanity, to the world, this light. It's not for you. You're gonna use it, yes. It's part of the work, right? Requested in order for you to use it, but in order for you to use it, you have to share it. It's not for you to use in an egoistic way. So now we're gonna, use this light in order to connect our soul or correct ourselves in a different way than just using this as or concentrating the physical parts of our body. And this is where the Nikun Hanefesh comes into place. So what we're going to be doing here is imagine that this man standing here is standing with the not looking to you face to face. His face is to the other side. So what we're seeing is the back of the man, okay? So remember, this is the back of the man. We're seeing the back of his leg, the back of his arm, and things like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to think or see a chart like this. If you can find one that has, the translations, like here, Galgalta says Kol, Keter, Keter, and things like that, that would be really good if you don't know the Hebrew and all that kind of stuff. But you don't need to know what this means. These are just the same thing, expansions of the name of God, repetitions of the name of God in order to correct, certain areas, more expansions of the name of God, more expansions of the name of God. Remember the Nikud, each Nikud has to do with certain Sefirot, certain Sefirah, and that's what you need to do, like Hod, Geburah, Chesed, right, Nesach, and that was in the chart that I mentioned before. And then Malchut, as you can see here, has no dots or Nikud because it has all of them. It has all these names, right? Yohe and Vavohoo is there, but it's impregnated with Adonai. Adonai is the name for Malchut. It's the vessel in which all this light is going to go to. All right. So what we're going to be doing is the following. And in Nikud HaNefesh, we're going to visualize these names of God on each area that is mentioned in this chart. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to visualize the name Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh with this the A, which represents Keter, right? In our skull, the top of our head. Then after that, what we're going to do is we're going to visualize the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh with the light of Chokmah, which is the letters of the Nikud, in our right brain, the right side of our head. Then after that, we're going to do the same thing, but with the Nikud representing Bina in the left side of the brain. The next step is going to be the right eye, and what we're going to do is we're going to visualize in our eyes the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh in this form that we see right here, 5 of them, 2 in the top, 1 in the middle, and 2 in the bottom. But as you do this, not just visualize it. If you don't feel, like visualizing is not connecting you, use your hands and touch those areas. It seems to help for some people touching those specific areas that they're meditating on, okay? The next step is going to be the left eye. Same thing, 2 Yod-Heh and Vah-Heh in the top, 1 in the middle, and 2 in the bottom. Then you're going to concentrate on the right ear, right? And this is an expansion of the name of God, the Yod, He, Vav, He, on the right ear, and then the left ear, the same thing. In the nose, we're going to have also an expansion of the name of God as well for each nostril. Okay, and you can do this meditating on both nostrils having this name at the same time, but for some reason some people think it's better meditating on touching one hole of the nose, one nostril at the same at the time instead of two at the same time. Then after that, you're gonna be meditating on your mouth, right, with the yuhi vav he as well. Okay, and when you're there, make sure you meditate that this is the correction of the of this have to be a thought that you're gonna have. Okay, so after we go through this, I'm gonna show you what's a meditation on each of these steps. Okay, so the next is gonna be your right arm, which represents Chesed. Then you're gonna do your left arm, which is Geburah. Always visualizing those nikud, Then the body. Then you're gonna do your right leg, your left leg, reproductive organs, and finally Malchut. But let's go back and let's. So the first thing you're gonna be doing, you're gonna be meditating on the skull, right? What are you doing is you're visualizing the light coming to your body. You are a vessel. Your soul is a vessel. The light is coming through you, right? In order for the light to go through you, you need to create a vessel. And that's what you're doing right now. You are doing a correction of your soul. You're creating a vessel for that light. So the first thing that you're going to be doing is attract the light. The light is going to be on the top of your head, which is the top of your vessel. And where you do that, you can do any kind of affirmation, like let the light feel me, and correct any kind of flaws that I have in my soul and my body, or any kind of flaws that I have, that is not helping me connect with my neighbors, right? Then the right brain, which gonna represent, Chokmah, this is the light of creation, basically. So now, it's like that this light is going to fill me. This light is a light of correction. Let this light, not manifest in me, but without breaking me. I don't want to suffer, and that's when Binah comes in, and Binah closes the light of Chokmah with the light of mercy. Now then, the right eye and the left eye, what we're doing here is that we are going to be using this light in order to see good in the world, okay? Without judgment. Same thing with the right ear, left ear. Now we're going to be basically receptors of this energy called the verb of creation, the sounds of creation, the voice of creation, which is the voice of God, okay? And the nose, as you notice, has a big space in here, because the nose represents this sense of smell that wasn't corrupted by Adam's sin in the Garden of Eden, because everything else, it was good to the eye, it was good, right? They were thinking about it, so it's the brain, right? It was good to the eye, it was good for the taste and to the touch, right? So we're correcting all these things, right? Except the nose. This is the sense that wasn't corrupted, but it's still, we need to make sure that we touch it, because it's part of the whole, right? And the mouth. The mouth is basically sort of two edges, but also it can be poison, it can be a remedy, it can be used for prayers, it can be used for insults, it can be used to say the truth, it can be used to say lies. So this is what we need to make sure we think when we are correcting our mouth. Okay, with the mouth you can also create angels, right? You can create angels of light or angels of darkness. Now the right arm represents chesed, is the giving, the merciful. Geburah is the taker, right? It is the restricted one. So you're gonna think about the right arm and the left arm working together. How they work together, they need to be connected to something called the body. So the body basically, Tiferet represents uh, the the solar plexus, which is where the heart and the heart and the liver, are sitting. And what we're going to be thinking is about how we are going to balance our own emotions, how we're going to balance our animal instincts, how we're gonna balance our receiving, because you can receive things, but you cannot be receiving so much that you're just receiving for yourself. But you can also not be giving so much that you're gonna be poor and without nothing, right? So that's why we need to think. Then the right leg and the left leg, and these are forces in our body, in our soul, that are going to be used. We use them in the physical world to transport ourselves, to walk, right, to move ourselves, and from one place to another. So that's the thing, to meditate, that we cannot be stagnant, that we need to move. And how we move, we need to move by balancing these two forces. One leg, let's say, you start with your right and the left, and these two forces working together are going to take us to different places. Instead of one, you cannot walk with only one leg, right? You're always gonna need something to help you balance that leg in order to be able to walk. And that's why you need to think here. For the soul is the same thing. We need to have those two columns, the right and the left column, working together in unison. Then the reproductive organs, it has nothing to do with the physical reproductive organs physically. In the spirituality, it just means that we are now vessels that are going to transmit energy to the feminine side of creation, which is Malchut, which is creation, right? Itself, nature. The name Elohim has the same numerical value as Teva, which is nature. We live inside nature, so now we're going to bring this energy into nature. That's what we need to do. And by doing that, we're going to be correcting what is called the ground, the dust, where the serpent with the snake, lives. And that's by correcting our feet, where the sole of our feet are touching, that ground, that dust where the serpent live. And when we do that, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be correcting the snake inside us, the Satan inside us. And that's what the Krasnatan is all about, right? And we're going to become just, like an angel, like a creature on earth, living in the physical realm. And we're going to also become at the image and the likeness of the Creator, the Yohe and the Vavohoo, okay? And that's what we need to do while we're doing this meditation, that we need to make sure that what we're doing the Ana Bekoach and these other meditations, that we're connecting to the lights in order for us to become at the image of the Creator. That we're good that does good, as He is good that does good. That we see our neighbors and our fellow creatures as part of a whole, because all these people that we know, they were created at the image of the Creator. So we need to love those people, because they represent the pattern that the Creator created in order to make this universe that we live in. As we are at the image of the Creator, they are also the image of the Creator. In order to love the Creator, we need to love these things that are similar to Him, right? Even with their flaws, we need to do that, okay? So we need to make sure that as we do this meditation of the Ana Bekoach, that is not a miracle prayer only in order for us to have some kind of better life or a better day. It's also a miracle prayer because we're bringing down light to the planet. We're bringing down light to humanity. we're trying to not only fix ourselves, but we're fixing ourselves in order to fix the whole world. The better that we become through these prayers or through these meditations, the better the world is going to be. There's a Kabbalah teacher that I know that says, in order for you to yearn for the Messiah, you have to become the Messiah for yourself first. You have to develop that Messiah inside your heart first in order to manifest that force outside. And then the whole world will reach, that stage called the Messianic consciousness, right? So we need to start first. And these meditations are going to help us reach that. So with this, we're going to finish lesson number 2. It's been almost 1 hour and a half of this lesson. That's how much we needed to cover. The next lesson might take 1 hour and a half as well, because it's a lot to cover, but the next lesson is going to be different kind of meditations. It's going to be based on the 42 letter name and how each letter is an angel, and how you're going to meditate with each of those angels, and how those energy are going to affect us and help us in our lives, in our personal lives, and also in the life of a group, and help society basically as a whole, and humanity as a whole. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed this lesson, and I'll be seeing you in lesson number 3 of the Ana Bekoach. And to finish, let's just finish with these words. May the favor of the Lord our God be upon us. Let the work of our hands prosper, and prosper the work of our hands. So I'll see you then on the next lesson. Shalom.